I would like to confess that it is like 3 in the afternoon and I've already drinking 2 energy drinks and I am still exhausted. I could not get any sleep last night. It was a mess. Like there was cops, there was knocks, there was drugs, there was twerking, there was a lot of things happening. There was like fireworks in the middle of the night. We'll get into all the details. But all I can think of last night is this meme. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. Yesterday afternoon, I was not feeling well. I have endometriosis and I get really badly sick. So I drove to Target to get some Advil and some ice cream, if we're being honest. And I just was so exhausted and just felt sick and I ended up just kind of staying there until they closed, and then I started to look around and there was another RV in the parking lot, and I figured I was fine because there was an RV there. There was no overnight parking or towing signs of any kind. It was a huge lot. It was also like a mall parking lot, which usually helps. So I just went to sleep because I was in so much pain. So I'm sleeping. I'm like in the back, like just, asleep. And this guy comes to the back corner and he's knocking on the door, which is kind of creepy because my face is like in the corner, and then I realize he's like just one pane of glass away from me. This person, I have no idea who it is, but I will say these security cameras are my favorite thing I've added to the new van. I just like looked over and I could see him and I could see what he was doing instead of having to like look out the skylight, which, if I open the skylight, I have to look down, like I'm making noise, I'm taking more time. Like I just sat up and looked.
Hello? No problem, give me 2 minutes, I'll be out.
All he said was, hey, can you move to the other side of the parking lot? I was like, okay, cool, and I left. I was annoyed, though, because he drove over towards the other RV that was also semi in front of the Target, and he, like, circled around it, and then just left, and didn't knock on their RV. So I really think I could have avoided the knock if I had parked more in between stores. It seemed like the issue was that like the tow truck driver was hired just by Target and the other stores didn't care. And so I literally could have moved a few rows over and been fine and have never gotten the knock. But the Lord said he wanted me to have a more exciting night to get me ready for Easter Sunday church, by the way. This is like the night before Easter Sunday. And that's actually part of the reason that I took the risk of picking a more riskier spot, was because I knew I had to get up and leave at 3:30 to get to a sunrise Easter service anyway. So I figured, of all the nights to risk it, I'm not staying here all night anyway. Nope. So I just, left an hour earlier for sunrise service. So I drive like 30 minutes over to Castle Island, which is where I am right now. And I'm like just sitting outside because there is a security bar to get onto the island before 7 a.m. However, they're changing that time for the sunrise service. And there is a sign in the parking lot outside the island that says tow away zone until 7 a.m., which I would never have parked there usually, but I figured I'm just here a little early for the sunrise service, like they're gonna know why I'm here. And so I decided to just park there and just try to take a quick nap. And then like maybe 30-40 minutes later, but some guy just like lights fireworks in the park, look out the skylight, and I thought it was kind of fun. So I'm not really getting much sleep this night.
He just like hopped in a car and drove off. Okay.
And then people start to file in for the church service. And I'm seeing all these cars pull in and they're all, sitting in the parking lot and waiting. And I'm like, oh, this is great, because I was a little worried about the tow away sign. But if there's a lot of us waiting for the church service, then, we're all gonna, they're not gonna tow all of us, and they know why we're here. And I'm just like, this is great. It's gonna be like a really great service, because I read online that it gets really packed in the parking lot, that you should get there super early. And all of a sudden I just see this girl stand up on this truck and she starts twerking. So I'm like, all right, girl, who am I to judge? And then I'm starting to think, like, why is this whole church group hyping up a girl twerking? But I'm like, you know what? This is gonna be a sick church service. Like, I don't even know what I'm walking into. Actually, I'm like delirious from not sleeping, right? And the gears start turning. And then the smell of weed hit me, and then I was like, oh, this is not, they are not here for the church service, Victoria. Like, duh.
It now reeks of weed. I can't get a break tonight.
And like, the partying just starts to get more intense. And, you know, more twerking happens, more partying, you know. They're all, you know, what everyone does to, like, pregame Sunday service. So I'm like, you know what? I don't think anyone here is going to break into my van or cause me any trouble, because they're all friends. So, like, they're not going to, you know, I think I'm totally chill. I'm just going to go to sleep. And weirdly, I did feel safe in that situation, just going to sleep. And then I wake up, I don't even know how much later, to the sound of cop sirens, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I get up, I look at the skylight, people like they're running, they're all getting in their cars, driving away, there's like so much panic. I start like getting out of bed, I'm like, you know, flipping the covers, running, and like my fridge is open, and I like jam my knee up against the fridge. I have like a giant scar on my knee now, and I like get to the front seat, and I'm like grabbing the keys, and then I'm like, wait, why am I running? Like, what am I running for?
Should I be running? I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm like the last car here. I'm here for a Sunday morning Easter church service.
I just sit there in the front seat and watch everybody panicking and driving out. I watch the show, and this guy's like struggling to get his car door unlocked. His girlfriend like can't figure out how to open a car door. I don't know if she like locked it and she couldn't, who knows. And the cop's just sitting there waiting.
Should I go? I want to go to church in the morning. Is he gonna want me to leave? Can I get a break? Can I get a break? I was so exhausted. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna vlog like tomorrow. And then 3 things tonight. 3! I don't know if I want to try to go back to sleep or if I want to try to go drive more to the service. The cop is now just sitting over there. I don't know what I'm doing, and I haven't slept yet. And it's like 4 a.m. I haven't had a night this bad in forever, but I also haven't been living full time in the van for a while. But goodness gracious. Also, the internet was like, you know, 5:55 a.m. is when the service starts and like the parking lot's packed, like you're not gonna be able to get a spot, like get there early. My anxiety is so ridiculous. I'm like, is 2 a.m. early enough? Girl, no one is showing up at 2 a.m. No one wants a parking spot that bad. People will just walk. Like... All right, let's go get ready for church and crack open an energy drink. I was in such a panic when the cops came, I forgot to close my skylight. One day that mistake is gonna crack it, and I'm gonna be very upset. It's nice to be able to have a peaceful morning after a night of chaos. If you've been watching my van build series, you may be noticing a few new things that I haven't gotten around to posting about yet, but my absolute favorite new addition is the partition door. It has been so game-changing. I can feel the temperature difference when I open the door and I walk into the cab. It is helping regulate the temperature in the living area just so much. It also helps that I don't need to take time putting up window covers in the cab at night either, partly because it takes a bit of time to do, but also because I don't think window covers are very stealth. When do you see people putting up window covers at night unless they're sleeping in their vehicle? There are so many things that just already make this partition door feel like my favorite part of the whole van build, even though clearly the build still has a long way to go. But regardless, welcome to Castle Island, home to Fort Independence, the oldest fortified site in British North America, with a 5-pointed granite fort from the 1830s when this area was still fully an island, not accessible the way it is now. But even after being built, it continued to be used for many years and was part of World War I and II, and was an armory during the Civil War. It housed 3,000 smallpox patients during the 1764 epidemic. During the Boston Massacre in the 1700s, it became a refuge for British loyalists, even though they left it in flames. It went on to become a prison, then a hospital, then a training site for soldiers during the War of 1812, and in 1826, Edgar Allan Poe was even enlisted in the military here for 5 months and saw a murder that inspired his short story, The Cask of Amontillado. And finally, in 1890, the governor gave the land to the city, and now it's a state park, and in the spring there are free tours inside, and every Easter Sunday they have a beautiful sunrise service right here on the harbor, where you can even watch boats pass by and lots of planes since the airport is not too far away. For van lifers, I think this spot is such a gem. I'm able to park right up against the water, there's public bathrooms, a small restaurant, it's quiet, and the weather was perfect. It's a little far from any reasonable stealth camping spots that I personally could find, but it was worth the daily drive to me every time. I've been in Boston, Massachusetts for a little over a week now, and last night was the only time I've had any kind of problem. I mean, a few days after this, I did sleep at a hotel, and then on my security cameras, I could see a guy pulling out a lawn chair from his car, and then he just sat in it with a beer just facing directly at my van for hours, just looking at my van drinking a beer, not scrolling on his phone, not reading anything, just staring for, I want to say like 4 some hours, at least from the time that I noticed he was there, which weirded me out, but also like good for him not needing technology to, just enjoy a nice day. But just for retrospect, a night of cops and sirens and getting the knock and fireworks, that's not a typical night. It was definitely one of my more rough nights, but finding a gem like Castle Island makes having nights like that just feel so much more worth it.
Easter Sunday, the resurrection of the Lord. The priests will have as their intention for this Mass all of our deceased relatives, friends, and parishioners who have gone on to eternal life and are with us in spirit today. On behalf of our entire parish community, we wish all of you a blessed Easter.
It ended up taking me numerous days to recover from my messed up sleep schedule, but that's just part of the lifestyle, I guess, and also what I get for taking more risks. I could have gone to any of my usual good spots that are a 30-minute drive away from the island, but I was just tired of paying gas to drive back and forth every day. However, in retrospect, just driving further could have saved me time and stress in the long run. Sometimes I think the mistake in van life is just getting too confident because you haven't been getting the knock in a while, and a few risks have turned out fine and paid off, but alas, lesson relearned. So recently, I started a new remote job. I'm a journalist for George magazine, and our theme for this month's issue is Fear Not. And that article is actually what I've been doing on the island all week, working on while sitting by the ocean and just thinking a lot about how it relates to van life. I would say one of the biggest questions I get asked is, as a solo female van lifer, don't you feel scared? And I get countless messages from women who want to get into this lifestyle but are afraid, and I always just bring up one thing, which is that the world is a scary and dangerous place even if you don't live in a van. And that wouldn't nullify it if you lived in a house or an apartment. You can get assaulted at a grocery store, walking down the street, and the place women are actually most likely to be assaulted is in their own homes. About a year before I started van life, I was assaulted outside my apartment building within eye distance of my apartment door. So living in my van and traveling hasn't put me in any more danger than I was right outside my own door. Initially, my first thought after that happened was to try to hide away and not take any risks. But I decided in the long run that instead of living in fear and cowering and not going anywhere because I'm afraid, instead I would spend time learning how to protect myself. I use crime maps to tell me how dangerous an area is that I'm unfamiliar with. I have about 3 extra locks on every door in this van. I have security cameras, alarms, lightsabers, and blasters with real ammunition, if you know what I mean, that I'm trained and prepped to use. I've taken self-defense classes, and I try to never leave the van once it gets dark. I don't open the doors and draw attention to myself. I practice safety every day. I've met numerous other female van lifers who actually also feel safer living in their vans, because at least when you're in danger, you can just get in the cab and drive away. And yes, I am an anxiety-ridden type A personality, but I think what I fear more than living on the road is, what if I don't pursue this awesome, crazy, cool dream that I have, where I get to travel and explore and constantly try new things and see cool places? What I really fear is spending my life doing nothing because I'm afraid, more than I fear anything else. So today, I'm spending my day by the ocean, writing up an article talking about how you shouldn't fear solo travel, but instead prepare yourself to be ready for anything, and not let fear stop you from your dream life.
I have a few different issues of George magazine in my van, but the most special one to me is issue 28 because it was my very first article I wrote with them, and my name's even on the front with the article that I wrote. And I wrote about how I paid off $60,000 in debt while living in a van full time. And it still like blows my mind and is so cool. This magazine was actually written and started by JFK Jr. and it's meant to be a like mix of politics and pop culture. So I get to do a lot of different varieties and talk about a lot of different things. Like for example, like here's my article, but then literally a few pages before that like is an interview with the singer, with the backup singer for Prince. And there's just like a whole lot of variety in here, and it's really cool to be able to be in that mix. This one, I wrote about buying power stations. I called it Powering Peace of Mind, a guide to your energy independence. And it's also on the front. I was starting out about that one too. But it's cool because there's such a wide variety of things I get to talk about and write about. And if you want to learn more about George Magazine and you want to see some of my articles, I'll leave the links in the description. And I'm like really proud of this. I'm really proud of this.
And the last few days have been some of my favorite van life days. Sitting by the ocean just really forces you to slow down and appreciate life. And somehow I'm just sitting here doing my childhood dream job of sorts, and I can actually prove that. Actually, I have a video of me when I was 11 years old in 2008 saying I want to be a journalist.
Good evening. My name is ToryDelury. Now I am older, I would like to be a journalist and not possible. Thank you.
And now here I am, a journalist for George Magazine. An 11-year-old me would be so psyched. For now, I'm just going to continue enjoying the magic of the island and finally get some peace after last night. And I just feel like it's important to plan good van life days to make the hard days feel worth it. Because it's so important to never let the hard days win. Because hope for a better day is the only thing stronger than the fear of a bad day. And again, I've been in Boston for a while now, and this was the only bad experience I had. It's just that the normal days where I'm sitting at the window, typing away ideas and editing videos isn't as exciting to make a video about as the middle of the night shenanigans. So if you want to get into van life, just remember that when you're watching these kinds of videos, that's the average day. It's just that, average. But what I think makes it feel worth it and more than average in ways is that I can do it here on this beautiful, stunning island by the water and with the sunlight shining on my face. And when I need a break from work, I can always just go for a walk on the beach around the island or go to the little Sullivan's food stand, watch birds, watch planes fly by, and sometimes van life can just make every day feel like a vacation, even if it's just another day. It makes life more exciting and interesting, that is for sure. And at every moment, I never know what's gonna happen in the next. And that typical average normal day can become one to remember at any second. I didn't plan on coming to this island when I drove to Boston, but I just randomly happened upon it, and it's become one of my favorite van life spots I've ever parked. And I think that's the magic of van life, embracing the unexpected, whether it's good or bad. Ironically, today I actually scrolled upon a video by Under the Radar Van who made a really great video called Did Van Life Get Me in This Situation? I Got Jumped. And crazy enough, this was posted the day that I'm editing this video, and he happens to also be in Massachusetts. I found so many parallels in what he was saying to how I'm feeling, which is that it seems like you can get too confident and comfortable, and it led him to take more risks, which is how I also felt. He talks about how he felt more confident in where he was going and parking, etc., and that he knew he was taking more of a risk that day. And I just thought it was super interesting to hear a male's perspective on safety. And I'll link that video below if you guys want to watch his channel. staying here on the island every night until 10 o'clock when the park closes, and then I drive about 30 minutes to different hotels and park and rides or gyms to sleep overnight, and I'm just not taking any more chances trying to stay close by. I'd rather get a good night's sleep and pay a bit in gas. Statistically, I thought Boston would be a scary place to park, and I've actually vlogged here before. It was the first time I ever got a ticket in my van overnight, and I felt semi-unsafe at the time, but this time it was actually really peaceful once I got the routine down. And once it starts to get dark, I get to climb into my bed that I only built a few weeks ago, and I call my boyfriend and watch the sun go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
My boyfriend actually flew out and was here in Boston with me for a few days, and it blew my mind how different van life is with someone else versus solo, and just all of my anxiety that I have every day on safety was almost completely gone. And I felt safer parking not in big public parking lots, so I think van life may be changing a lot for me if we ever end up being able to travel together. Right now we're trying to beat this long distance thing, and if I ever finish this van build, that would also be pretty helpful. So I guess I'll spend a few more days here on the island, but then it's back to Pennsylvania to get the rest of this van built so I can get back to living on the road full time.